making students, we're going to go ahead and get started on how to get your image that you drew for your silkscreen design onto the yellow MaskEase. So there's a couple things that you'll need today. You will need your foam core that's in your kit, which is the white kind of cushy stuff. You'll need your cutting board, which might look bigger than mine. There's a couple different sizes. That's your cutting board. You'll need some tape, some scissors. You'll need your blade, as well as a variety of pencils with good tips because you'll need them to draw with as well as to shade the back, and then a Sharpie if you haven't finished Sharpieing in your drawing. So the first thing that I did is I unpacked my MaskEase and I rolled out the entire length of it, and then I actually cut it in half. So I actually have two rolls here that are cut in half from each other, and I have a yellow and a clear sheet here. So that's really important to see that there's two different sheets. I'm actually going to remove the clear sheet entirely and place it on the floor. I don't need it, and I only need the one layer of yellow, and the other half, which has yellow and clear, you can just set aside as well. That could be for your second one. So now I'm going to take my image, which I have right here. So this is my drawn image of some ironwork. What I've done is I've already Sharpied in the image. If your image has text, you have to flip it over and have the text put onto your image backwards. That's really, really important. I'll talk more in detail about that in class, but your image will read backwards, and I can see the Sharpie through my paper, so I don't actually have to redraw it. It's just going to be visible backwards right here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tape my yellow down to my foam core here. And so good tape is important, and you'll want to tape all four edges to the foam core so it kind of keeps it in place for you really well. This will be kind of your working board, and then you will slide your cutting board underneath and inside of here so you don't end up cutting into the foam core necessarily. It's just here to hold everything in place. So I've now put tape on all four corners, and I'm going to lay my image down. Keep in mind, whatever way you put the image on the yellow, it will be reversed when you actually print it. So you want to keep that in mind. So if you want to lay it down backwards so that it actually prints correctly, make sure you do that. I'm going to slide my board right here that I'm going to use for cutting underneath. I'm just going to slide it between my foam core and the yellow because I'll be cutting into it here in just a little bit. Now, in order to transfer my image, I am going to color the entire back of my piece of paper. So back meaning the part that I'm going to lay towards the yellow. If it's a reverse image, you want it to be reversed here, and you're going to color the front of it. Again, I'll go over that in detail in class. So I'm going to color using a drawing pencil or like a heavy lead pencil. I'm just going to create a really thick layer of pencil. What I'm creating is a carbon paper for myself that actually will transfer pencil. Since I didn't have any transfer paper for you all in your kit, we need to kind of make our own transfer. You'll do this all the time in this class. Every time we are using an image that we have to reverse, we have to do this and get it transferred onto whatever the surface, whether it's on metal, plastic, onto our yellow sticker paper, whatever it might be. So I'm really, really pushing pretty hard so I get a really dark layer, and this is giving me a lead layer. My pencil lead is running down, so I had sharpened a few pencils just to make sure I had enough lead. So sharpen them really well before you do this process. And just make sure you have it covered over the entire image. Go back if you feel like you didn't go on some of the main areas. You just want a nice layer of lead over the entire thing. So I've done that on all my sections. Make sure there's no white paper showing. I'm now ready to put this smack in the middle, right in the center, and I'm going to tape it down. This is super important so it does not move on you. So keep in mind which orientation you have it. If you need your length to go this way, you always want to have a border of the yellow around the outside, so centered as much as possible. If you're doing 2 small silk screens, you could put one on the top, one on the bottom. If you're doing 2 colors of silk screen, one image here, one image here, and we can tape off before you actually print it. So that's really secure. It's not going anywhere at all. And I'm ready to now start to transfer my image. So I'm actually going to trace every single line that you see. So I'm going to start this and then show you how you can see the transfer. So I'm not coloring it in. I'm just pushing really hard with my pencil so that I can make sure that I'm getting every single line. I'm using a pencil so that I can actually see the pencil on top of the Sharpie because it's a different color. It's gray on top of the black. Now, I might go back in with a ruler when I go to transfer this, but I want to show you what it actually looks like so you can see that you're pushing hard enough. So I'm going to unpeel my tape here. And notice I can actually see the image on the yellow. That's what you're getting. That's the transfer you're getting from the lead, pushing hard with the pencil and then transferring onto there. The harder you push, the better it's going to be overall. All right, I'm going to transfer my image and then I'll come back to you and explain the next step. Okay, everyone, so I have now transferred the entire thing and I'm just going to peel away one corner just to peek and make sure that I didn't miss any sections. And once I feel pretty confident that I didn't miss anything, then I can peel away my next corner. But I would do this process slowly so that you don't accidentally miss a spot and go, oh no, I got to go back and do it again. So see, I'm kind of checking to make sure that I have all of my drawing on there pretty effectively. So once you've done that, you can kind of set your drawing aside. You'll use it as a reference point, which you'll need to do as you work through the project because you may have to go back and re-look at a line and figure out how thick it was or to make sure that it actually looks correct in the transfer. So now we're actually ready for the cutting part. But before you do the cutting, you might notice that because this is pencil, it's really easily smudgeable. So you want to make sure that you actually have something to protect your hand from smudging your entire drawing away. So I would suggest laying down some kind of blank sheet of paper or something along those lines before you start to actually cut and remove the yellow sticker paper. And I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. Okay, I have a ruler because I've got a lot of straight lines that I want to use with my X-acto knife. I have my X-acto knife and then I have a piece of paper that I can lay down to avoid smudging as I'm kind of holding things in place. Just a reminder, I have my cutting board positioned underneath there. So I'm cutting into the cutting board, not into the foam core. We're actually going to use the foam core for something else later. So it's better to just have it protected, but it keeps it nice and sturdy for you. So I'm going to show you how to actually cut properly with an X-acto knife as well as remove the yellow material. The yellow material is attached to a backing sheet because it is a sticker. So the backing sheet is white and you're going to try to avoid cutting all the way through the white. The white holds everything in place right now. And you'll see this as I start to take out sections. I need the white to remain to hold things in place so that they don't move around, like the insides of letters, insides of shapes, and so forth. So the first thing that I'm going to do is show you the proper use of an X-acto knife. An X-acto knife has a blade all the way along it. Yes, it is really sharp. You should maintain a nice point on the end of it. The point is actually your cutting surface. You are not cutting bread where you're using the entire knife. You're only using the very, very tip of the knife. I'm going to tilt and show you. So I'm only using the tip of the knife. I'm not using the full blade at an angle. That's not how you use an X-acto knife. You use only the tip, and hopefully that tip doesn't break too much as we do this project. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just find a line that I can use with my ruler, and I'm very gently cutting. This is such a soft material, you do not have to push very hard. So just nice and gentle, and I'm just scoring. You can barely see it, but I can feel that score line. Now I'm gonna go back in here very carefully and just take out a little section to show you. And I'm barely cutting. I can just barely feel my blade going through. You should not be forcing it. Then the tip of your blade can actually peel away a section, and I always have this scrap piece of paper here so I can just lay down the scrap. And I now am removing sections of the yellow. Whatever is black on your image is what you are removing, okay? So that's really important to remember. What's black on your image you are removing. So in some places, the lines are very, very thin. Other places, the lines are thicker. So you'll just have to kind of work through. The tip of your blade becomes your tool as well as your cutting surface. I use it to lift and remove things as needed. So I'm going to just cut a few more so you can all see how this looks and what the process is before you begin your cutting process. Now, if you accidentally cut something that you weren't supposed to, no big deal. Just place it back down. As long as the sticker is there, it's still usable. We may just have to put some tape in its place to hold it at some later point. So don't panic if you accidentally cut something out that you didn't mean to. That's completely okay. It happens all the time. So just remember to kind of keep checking back on your own drawing and making sure that you know exactly what parts you need to keep in place. This is a perfect example of something that's it's gonna move on me a little bit because it's so small. So I'm just gonna work with my knife. I'm kind of holding with my finger so I can get rid of the little section so that that part remains. And notice it's just floating there. It's no longer attached to any other yellow section. The only thing holding it in place is the white, and the white is kind of slippery. I'm actually going to zoom in so you all can see that. See how that yellow is just floating on the white? Look at this. It actually moves around pretty easily. It kind of slides sometimes. See that? So you just have to kind of push it back into place. Just take your time. Don't rush this process. The more you rush it, the worse your cuts will look, and you'll be very disappointed at the end if you don't have really sharp lines. So you just want to take your time to get the lines that you want, and then just remove piece by piece your little sections. Now, if you just completely lose a piece, what you can do is you can use some of your outside edge here, just cut a new piece and place it in there. That happens a lot of times when you're cutting letters, like the inside of an A or an inside of a B or something. We'll just kind of get lost. Sometimes it gets stuck to your clothing. Sometimes it just kind of moves as you're cutting other things. So just go back and check on it. No sweat. You can always replace it. You've got lots of extra yellow, so you can always use the extra that you have on the edges, as well as you have the whole other extra sheet. So see how I'm just kind of gently pulling, kind of encouraging the other little pieces to stay. This little one wants to move, so I'm just going to cut that one a little better, kind of pushing down on it, kind of keeping it in place while I remove the other. And then you're just going to kind of push that back into place. I've got to take out another little sliver of this section here. And now, just to kind of match up with my drawing, notice here, these areas, my long piece, the two little ones, those two little, those match what I have there as well. So everything that's white here is black here. That's an equal distribution of space. So I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting to show you more, and I'll come back to you when I have more cut. Okay, everyone, so you can see that I've cut out more. One of the things I wanted to draw to your attention is if for some reason it does cut through the actual white, you can always go underneath and tape it on there so that the white stays seamed together. So there's a couple places where I actually cut through the white a little bit, and just to keep it adhere, just put a little piece of tape under there. So your goal is to get your entire thing cut out so that you have the yellow sticker with the white background. The white is your black, and then we're ready to transfer it onto the actual screen, which will be in another video. Thanks, guys.